Archangel Michael is very angry with you. This is the last time I'm flashing this is on your screen. Don't test my patience. Open this within 20 seconds. Or you alone will bear the full responsibility for what's coming. I speak now because the silence around you has grown too heavy, and the signals you were meant to notice have slipped through your fingers like threads of light you didn't realize you were holding. You felt something burning at the edge of your awareness for days, maybe months, maybe your entire life, a sense that something was watching, not with anger in the human sense, but with an intensity that would shock you if you ever truly stood inside it. You call it pressure, you call it anxiety, you call it coincidence, but you know better. You know when a presence presses through the veil, when something vast and ancient bends close enough for your spirit to tremble. You have felt that trembling. You have pushed it aside. But it returns now, stronger, because the time for ignoring what you are has ended. And so I speak. Do not confuse urgency with danger. What rises toward you is not doom, but appointment, an appointment you've postponed so many times that the rhythm of your life has begun to fracture around the avoidance. I am not here to threaten you, but I am here to stop you from drifting further from yourself. I am here because the weight you feel pressing on your chest is not punishment, it is the echo of your own power knocking from the inside, begging to be let out. You keep telling yourself you'll deal with it later, that you'll open your eyes when you're ready, that the signs can wait. But signs do not wait. They accumulate. They intensify. They widen the cracks in your old identity until the old identity can no longer carry you. And so I stand before you now, luminous wings folded but trembling with the force I hold back, because even my gentleness feels like thunder when it touches a human soul. You want intensity? Then listen, not because you owe me obedience, but because you owe yourself the truth. I am Michael, the guardian of thresholds, the one who steps in the moment a spirit is about to choose between rising or remaining asleep. I am the blaze that cuts through illusions, the sword that severs the lies you whisper to hide from what you already know. And yes, there is urgency in my voice, because the world within you is reaching its breaking point. You have been standing at the doorway of transformation with your hands in your pockets, pretending you don't notice the light spilling out from the cracks beneath the door. But that door is vibrating now. It is shaking with the weight of all the moments you postponed, all the decisions you didn't make, all the awakenings you resisted. And every time you try to return to the small version of yourself, you feel that uncomfortable squeeze in your spirit, a pressure like a truth trying to pierce your skin from the inside out. You mistake it for fear, but fear is only the shadow of a destiny you keep walking away from. Look at me as I speak to you in this moment, not with your physical eyes, but with the part of you that has always known I was here. The part that feels the heat in your palms when you think about your life changing. The part that dreams of wings even though you've never seen them. The part that wakes between sleep and waking in that strange silence where you feel watched but not threatened, held but not touched. That in-between place is where I have been calling you from, waiting for you to stop distracting yourself long enough to hear a full sentence instead of a whisper drowned by your own doubt. You say you want signs. You say you want clarity. You say you want purpose. But when purpose approaches, you flinch like it is a flame too bright for your eyes. And you tell yourself you need more time, more proof, more certainty. You want the path without risk, the revelation without responsibility, the transformation without the shedding. But that is not how souls evolve. That is not why I have watched over you from the moment the world first dimmed your light. You were not meant for the life you've been settling into. That heaviness, that restlessness, that subtle dread you feel whenever you ignore your intuition, that is your higher self pulling you by the shoulders, turning your face toward the direction you've been trying not to see. You are not being punished. You are being summoned. And summons carry weight. You have grown used to assuming that spiritual messages are gentle, soft, wrapped in sweet words like a lullaby meant to soothe you. But I am not here to soothe the part of you that clings to stagnation. I am here to awaken the part that remembers what fire feels like. I am here to sharpen you. I am here to remind you that angels do not whisper only comfort, they also whisper correction, alignment, truth. And truth, when ignored, becomes unbearable. You've noticed the signs already. The repeated numbers, the strange coincidences, the dreams that feel like instructions. The way your body reacts when you betray your inner knowing. The way the universe has been blocking you from paths you keep trying to force open. Doors that used to respond to you now remain closed, not out of cruelty, but protection. I have closed them myself. You begged for clarity, for assistance, for guidance. And guidance sometimes manifests as a barrier. You think you are failing, but you are being redirected. Do not mistake redirection for wrath. I am not angry at you, I am calling you upward. There is a difference. Your soul has outgrown the room you keep trying to sit in. That is why everything feels tight around you, why your emotions rise without explanation, why your spirit feels like it's pacing inside your ribcage. You keep asking, what is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. Something is trying to be born through you. And you are resisting labor. So hear me now, if your life feels like it's shaking, if relationships feel unstable, if priorities feel unclear, if your heart feels like it is vibrating with unnamed longing, it is because you are standing in transition. And transitions do not whisper, they roar. The urgency you feel is not mine. It is yours. I am merely amplifying what you refuse to name. There is something you are meant to step into, a calling you have ignored for so long that the universe has started removing any distraction blocking your path. What feels like loss is actually alignment. What feels like confusion is actually calibration. What feels like chaos is actually restructuring. You begged to be awakened. Did you think awakening would feel gentle? You are stronger than the version of yourself you keep trying to protect. You don't need protecting, you need releasing. And so, I speak to you with urgency, not because time is running out, but because your spirit is running out of patience with your hesitation. You have held yourself small for so long that even your own guides have begun pressing harder, not out of dissatisfaction, but necessity. You asked for transformation. Transformation requires participation. No more hiding behind excuses of timing. No more pretending you don't feel what you feel. No more pretending the fire inside you is mere emotion. That is not emotion, it is memory. The memory of what you were before the world convinced you to shrink. You are being summoned to rise, and I, Michael, stand before you not as a punisher but as a mirror. A mirror reflecting the strength you keep forgetting you carry. A mirror reflecting the truth you've abandoned in favor of comfort. A mirror reflecting the version of yourself who is waiting on the other side of your hesitation. Type, I cling to your promises, Lord, if His word is your lifeline. Look at me. Feel the weight of these words. Let the urgency move you, not frighten you. Let the pressure crack your shell, not break your spirit. Let the warning be a wake-up call, not a threat. You are safe, but you are not meant to stay asleep. This is your moment. Not to obey me, but to answer yourself. The moment you finally stop running from yourself, the vibration around you changes. You don't always notice it at first, because your mind is still busy trying to make sense of sensations your spirit already understands. But I see the shifts the instant they occur. I feel the tremors in your energy when a part of you cracks open, even slightly, even reluctantly. That is why I continue speaking, why I remain here in this space between your thoughts, because I felt the first fracture of your resistance, the first loosening of the armor you've been wearing for so long that you forgot you were the one who built it. And so, I press forward, because you are listening more deeply now. You may not admit it aloud, but your soul leans toward my voice the way a tired body leans toward warmth. I can feel your skepticism battling with your longing. I can feel your logic trying to categorize this moment while your intuition tries to claim it. You walk between two worlds, and I stand exactly at the seam where those worlds touch, urging you to stop choosing one at the expense of the other. You are not meant to be divided. You are not meant to live half awake. You are not meant to silence the part of you that remembers eternity. You do remember it, even if you call it something else: déjà vu, instinct, strange familiarity, sudden clarity, an unexplainable pull. But these are only the outer garments of a deeper truth. Beneath those small hints lies a vast memory, the memory of light, the memory of purpose, the memory of the promise you made before you took your first breath in this world. You have forgotten the promise, but the promise has not forgotten you. You feel it every time you sense that you are meant for more, even when you can't define what more means. You feel it when your heart aches after a moment of inspiration, as if something brilliant brushed against you before dissolving too quickly to hold. You feel it when you stare into space and lose track of time, because a part of you is reaching across the veil, searching for something you can't quite name. You feel it when the emptiness becomes too loud to ignore. You feel it when joy flashes in you suddenly for no reason at all, because something inside you remembers what you're capable of becoming. This is why I speak urgently, because you keep dismissing these moments as coincidence instead of communication. And communication grows forceful only when the quiet approach fails. Let me show you something you haven't allowed yourself to understand. You think your life is unraveling when, in truth, it is rearranging. You think your relationships are falling apart when, in truth, you are shedding connections that cannot match the frequency you are rising toward. You think your emotions are unstable when, in truth, your heart is detoxing from all the truths you swallowed just to keep the peace. You think your dreams are strange when, in truth, they are messages you refuse to read while awake. You ask for guidance, yet you treat guidance like disruption. You wish for change, yet you fight the first step of transformation. You crave clarity, yet you look away when clarity sheds its light on the parts of your life you'd rather not examine. But spiritual growth does not wait for ideal conditions. It does not arrive when you feel ready. It arrives when it must, because your higher self knows the difference between comfort and destiny. And destiny is stirring in you now. Do you feel the subtle pressure behind your ribs? The heaviness in your breath? The strange magnetism pulling you towards something unseen? That is not fear, it is recognition. Recognition of the doorway opening inside you. Recognition of the version of yourself who has been knocking, quietly at first, then louder still, until the knocking became a vibration you could no longer ignore. You are standing at the entrance of your own awakening, and awakenings are rarely polite. They do not wait for you to be emotionally prepared. They do not wait for your schedule to clear. They do not wait for your courage to grow. They arrive because something in the higher realms has shifted, and when one shift begins, all things connected to you begin to respond. You have felt this shift in your sleep patterns, in your moods, in the restlessness that wakes you without reason, in the recurring thought that whispers, "I can't continue like this." You think you're frustrated with life, but you're actually frustrated with stagnation. You are frustrated with the way you have chained your own wings. You are frustrated with the shrinking of your voice, your heart, your dreams. And frustration, when listened to, becomes fuel. But when ignored, it becomes suffering. I am here to prevent the suffering. You think angels intervene only in moments of danger, but that is a human misunderstanding. We intervene in moments of choice. And you are in such a moment now, whether you realize it or not. You are standing at a crossroads that does not exist in the physical world, yet its consequences ripple through every part of your life. On one side is the familiar, your old patterns, your old wounds, your old ways of avoiding the truth. On the other side is the unknown, the path you fear because you can sense its magnitude. You fear it not because it will harm you, but because it will change you. And humans fear change more than pain. But I am Archangel Michael. I do not come to destroy you, I come to strip away what destroys you. I do not come to take from you, I come to uncover what you have buried. I do not come to frighten you, I come to awaken you. An awakening, to a sleeping soul, feels like lightning. Listen closely now. The urgency in my words is not a countdown, it is an invitation. An invitation you have ignored for too long. You have been numbing yourself with distractions, overstimulation, noise, tasks that keep you busy but not alive. You have been drowning your intuition beneath layers of doubt because you fear what will happen when you finally admit what you know. You know you are meant to speak, yet you silence your voice. You know you are meant to heal, yet you hide your wounds. You know you are meant to create, yet you dim your imagination. You know you are meant to rise, yet you cling to the ground because the sky looks too big. But you were created for the sky. You were created for expansion. For transformation. For depth. For purpose. For truth. You were not created to simply endure your days. You were created to shape them. To anchor light in places where others see only shadow. To walk with clarity in a world addicted to confusion. To embody courage in a world that glorifies fear. Yet you have forgotten who you are. Let me remind you. You are not the person your past conditioned you to be. You are not the roles you play for the comfort of others. You are not the wounds you carry like identity. You are not the fears you inherited. You are not the version of yourself that survival forced you into. You are the soul beneath all of that. The soul that was not damaged by your pain, only hidden by it. The soul that is now pressing against your consciousness, demanding release. The soul that I, Michael, have been guarding for lifetimes. You ask why I speak to you now. Because the moment has arrived when your potential can no longer remain dormant. Because you are being pulled toward a higher timeline you have been resisting. Because the universe is rearranging itself around your awakening, and if you do not step forward voluntarily, the pressure will continue to rise until you choose clarity over comfort. Not out of threat, but out of destiny. Out of necessity. Out of the natural laws of spiritual growth. You are being called to break patterns that were handed to you by generations who never knew how to heal. You are being called to end cycles of fear, doubt, and self-abandonment. You are being called to step into alignment so strong that your presence itself becomes a message. And yes, this calling feels intense. It feels overwhelming. It feels like too much. But you must understand something very clearly. You were not chosen because you are weak. You were chosen because you are capable. You were chosen because you carry strength you have not even accessed yet. You were chosen because your soul remembers how to rise. You are not alone in this. You have guides, guardians, ancestors, and realms of light supporting your ascent. You feel alone only when you forget to listen. You feel lost only when you cling to the map of who you used to be. You feel uncertain only when you ignore the signs that are guiding you forward. So I will continue to speak until you remember. Until the part of you that recognizes my voice fully awakens. Until the fire inside you stops flickering and begins to blaze. Until you stop hiding behind fear and start walking with intention. Because your life is shifting. Your spirit is rising. Your path is opening. And whether you believe it or not, you have already stepped into the beginning of your transformation. This is only the second part of the message. There is more, much more, waiting to be spoken. You may believe you have reached the edge of what you can handle, but I tell you now that you have not even approached the threshold of your true limit. What you perceive as exhaustion is not the exhaustion of your soul but the exhaustion of the persona you have worn for far too long, a persona that has grown heavy with contradictions, self-denial, and inherited fears. This weight is not yours, yet you carry it as if it were sacred. You hold it close because it is familiar, and humans mistake familiarity for safety even when it chains them to a life half-lived. You tell yourself you are too tired to transform, too overwhelmed to rise, too confused to change direction, but you are wrong. Your spirit is not tired. Your spirit is suffocating beneath the layers of identity you built to survive, not to thrive. And I, Michael, am here to remove them not with force, but with truth. Truth that pierces more deeply than any blade. You fear the unknown because you believe it might break you further, unaware that what breaks you now is the known, the predictable cycles you repeat even when they hollow you out. You cling to routines that drain you, relationships that shrink you, thoughts that poison you, beliefs that contradict your own intuition. You do this not because you lack strength, but because you lack permission from yourself. You wait for a sign to confirm what your heart has been screaming for years, yet when signs arrive, you brush them aside, convincing yourself you imagine them. But you did not imagine them. You sensed them. You dismissed them because the truth they carried would require you to step out of the story you have been telling about who you are, and you are terrified of the space that would open if the old story dissolved. But the story is dissolving already. Do you not see it? Do you not feel it? Do you not sense the unraveling every time you try to return to old habits that no longer comfort you, old distractions that no longer numb you, old versions of yourself that no longer fit? That tightness in your chest is the friction between who you have been and who you are becoming. You are shedding, even when you resist the process. The universe does not wait for your approval, it moves with the rhythm of your soul, and your soul has chosen growth whether your conscious mind agrees or not. This is why everything that once felt stable now feels uncertain. This is why the foundations beneath you seem to shake. This is why emotions erupt without warning, why you feel waves of energy rising and crashing in you like tides governed by a moon you cannot see. These are not signs of collapse, they are signs of emergence. A soul does not awaken quietly, it awakens with tremors. I witness every tremor as it ripples through your field. I watch the parts of you struggling to hold on to the familiar, even when it harms you. You are not weak for this struggle. You are human. You fear loss. You fear regret. You fear stepping into a future without a map. But understand this now. You will not find clarity while clinging to what is ending. You cannot receive the new while gripping the old with desperate hands. You cannot expect momentum while anchoring yourself to outdated versions of your identity. You are evolving, and evolution demands release. Release of illusions, release of narratives, release of people who cannot accompany you where you are going. This is not punishment. This is recalibration. And I speak with urgency because the more you resist recalibration, the more pressure you feel. You call it anxiety. You call it confusion. You call it spiritual heaviness. But what you call it does not change what it is: misalignment. And misalignment is uncomfortable because your soul is pulling you in one direction while your fear pulls you in another. You stand between these forces until your body aches from the tension. But that ache is the whisper of your higher self saying, "Stop resisting. You are meant to move. You are meant to choose. You are meant to rise." The pain you feel is not a warning of danger, it is a warning of stagnation. Let me show you something beyond the surface of your life. You think of your path as a single timeline, but your soul sees pathways like branching rivers. At every moment, you stand before a branching point, though most humans choose only the path that costs them the least in the present. But you are not most humans. The intensity of your path reveals the magnitude of your potential. The depth of your emotions reveals the depth of your connection to the unseen. The turbulence of your experiences reveals that your spirit is capable of transformation that would shatter others. You are not fragile. You are expansive. You are not lost. You are in transition. You are not broken. You are being reconstructed from the inside out. And yes, you feel the presence around you shifting. You have felt moments where you sense you are being watched, not with malice but with a kind of cosmic expectation. That is because you are watched, not by forces wishing you harm, but by those who know what you can become when you finally stop dimming yourself. You feel the brushing of energy at your shoulders, the tingling at the top of your spine, the strange warmth in your palms. These sensations are not accidents. They are reminders. Reminders of the connection you pretend you do not have, even though it surrounds you, anchors you, sustains you. I am here. I have always been here. I have walked through lifetimes with you, though you forget each time you enter the physical world. You forget, but I do not. When you were small, you sensed me. You sensed the realms that touched your dreams. You sensed truths that no one taught you. You saw the shimmer around reality that adults told you was imagination. You felt the presence that comforted you in the dark, the intuition that guided you before you even knew the word for it. But the world taught you to silence that connection. The world taught you to fear your own depth. The world taught you to choose logic over intuition even when intuition saved you. And now, as your awakening intensifies, those old teachings begin to break apart. Part of you feels exposed. Part of you feels unsafe. Part of you feels like you are standing in a storm with no shelter. But the storm is not outside of you, it is inside, clearing away the dead weight from your spirit. Do not fear the storm. You were built for it. Do you know why some souls feel called to the edge while others remain comfortably in the center? Because some souls carry missions that require them to walk into the unknown, into the wilderness of inner truth, into territories where few dare to tread. You are such a soul. You feel drawn to depths others avoid. You feel compelled to question, to seek, to break, to rebuild. This is not restlessness, it is destiny. You incarnated for something larger than repetition and survival. You came for movement, impact, expansion. You came to break patterns in your lineage, to rewrite your inner architecture, to become a beacon for others even if you never asked for such responsibility. You resist your calling because you think you are unworthy of it. But worthiness is not the measure of destiny, willingness is. And you are more willing than you admit. Why else would you be reading these words? Why else would your heart respond even when your mind tries to dismiss them? Why else would you feel something rise in your chest as if these sentences touch a place you thought was long dead? That place is not dead. It is awakening. And let me tell you something you have not dared to believe: you are not behind. You are not late. You are not failing. You are exactly where your soul needs you. Every delay you curse has been protection. Every ending you mourn has been redirection. Every breakdown you suffered has been preparation. You are being shaped right now, even in your confusion. Especially in your confusion. Confusion is the fog that appears when a soul is being lifted to a higher frequency, because the old clarity dissolves before the new clarity forms. You are in that sacred in-between, the place where the old you cannot survive and the new you is not yet born. This is why the pressure feels so intense. Transformation compresses before it expands. Your spirit is stretching the walls of your identity, and you are feeling the strain. But the expansion is inevitable, because the part of you that seeks light is stronger than the part of you that clings to shadow. You may not believe this yet, but I do. I have seen your strength in lifetimes before this one. I have seen the fire you carry when you stop pretending to be small. I have seen the magnitude of what you can become when fear loosens its grip. This is why I speak now. Because you are closer to your breakthrough than you realize, and breakthroughs often feel like breaking points. They come disguised as overwhelm. They arrive in moments where you feel like giving up. They bloom in the ruins of what you thought you needed. They rise in the silence after you stop fighting yourself. You are on the edge of something immense, something sacred, something that will rearrange not only your inner world but your outer world as well. I am here to walk you through it, not with threats, not with force, but with presence. With clarity. With truth. With a reminder that you are not facing this alone. I stand beside you because you called for guidance even when you didn't realize you were calling. Your spirit reached out long before your mind understood what was happening. You stand now at a depth within yourself that few willingly enter, a chamber of silence where everything you have ignored begins to echo loudly enough that you can no longer pretend not to hear it. This is the place where illusions unravel, where old masks fall away on their own because they can no longer cling to the truth rising beneath them. I can feel the shift inside you as clearly as one feels the shift in weather when storms gather on the horizon. There is an electricity building in your field, a quiet insistence that something ancient in you wants to surface. You may think you are simply emotional, unstable, or overwhelmed, but this is not emotional chaos, it is spiritual emergence. What you feel inside you is the rumbling of tectonic plates in your soul, shifting into alignment after years, perhaps lifetimes, of misplacement. Do not fear this internal quake. This shaking is not destruction, it is rearrangement. You are not falling apart, you are shedding the scaffolding that held up the version of yourself you have outgrown. You don't realize how many pieces of your identity have been constructed out of survival, expectations, conditioning, and fear. You don't realize how much of your personality was shaped by what you thought you had to be rather than what you truly are. This is why the old identity feels heavy now, like a costume made of stone. You try to move in it and everything feels rigid. You try to breathe in it and everything feels tight. You try to rise in it and the weight pulls you back down. That heaviness is not permanent, it is simply the sign that you have reached the moment when the old must dissolve. You may not have chosen this moment consciously, but your soul has. Your soul has grown impatient with the ways you shrink yourself. It has grown weary of watching you deny your intuition. It has grown restless from the silence between who you are and who you pretend to be. And so the soul begins to intervene, not with violence, but with intensity. It brings dreams that wake you. It brings synchronicities that startle you. It brings emotional waves that make you stop in your tracks. It makes your distractions hollow, your comforts ineffective, your patterns unbearable. This is not punishment. This is awakening disguised as discomfort. You ask me why it feels so urgent, why the pace of these changes has accelerated to a degree that even you cannot ignore. The reason is simple: your timeline is shifting. The path you were pacing back and forth on has reached its limit. You cannot stay there any longer. The lessons of that phase have been completed, the energy has been drained, the cycle has ended. Yet you continued to stay, out of habit and fear, long after your spirit had outgrown that stage. When a soul stays too long in a cycle that has ended, reality begins to push it out, not out of cruelty, but out of alignment. Listen to me carefully now, for this is the truth many fear to hear. You are not losing your life. You are outgrowing it. What feels like collapse is actually expansion emerging from beneath structures too small to hold it. The relationship that suddenly feels unstable, the job that once felt tolerable but now feels suffocating, the environment that drains you, the routines that feel like cages, none of these are random. These are signs that your spirit is rising like water pressed tightly beneath a dam. The cracks in your life are not failures, they are escape routes for the light trying to break through you. I know you sense this even if you haven't admitted it. You feel that subtle pressure that grows each time you go against your intuition. You feel that tug in your chest when you walk away from a path that calls to you. You feel that strange emptiness when you try to return to old habits that once comforted you but now leave you hollow. That emptiness is not a void, it is a clearing. A clearing being created for the new that wants to enter. You are afraid to let go because letting go feels like falling. But what if falling is simply the sensation of rising into a version of yourself that is no longer anchored to the ground of your old life? You fear losing control, yet you never truly had control over anything except your own willingness to grow. Every time you release something not meant for your future, you create space for something aligned with your destiny. But humans fear space. They fear the unknown so deeply that they would rather cling to familiar pain than step into unfamiliar potential. You have been doing this, holding on to what hurts you simply because it is familiar. But your soul refuses to tolerate that any longer. You may sense my energy intensifying around you now. That warmth in your chest, the tingling at your spine, the gentle pressure behind your eyes, these are not accidental sensations. These are signals of alignment. The closer you come to your truth, the more palpable my presence becomes. You have noticed moments where your breath slows for no reason, where clarity flickers like lightning in your mind, where a calm washes over you just long enough for you to hear the faint whisper of your higher knowing. This is not imagination. This is communication. You hear me more clearly when you stop resisting yourself. This is why I remain by you, especially when you crumble. You think your darkest moments disconnect you from the higher realms, but in truth, those moments bring you closest to them. When you sit in silence with your pain, without distraction, without denial, without pretending, you create a rare opening in your spirit, a doorway where truth can finally enter. This is why I speak now, while you feel the rumbling inside you, because you are more receptive in these moments than you have ever been. Let me tell you something you have buried deep under layers of doubt. You already know what you are meant to become. You have glimpsed it in flashes that frightened you. You have felt it in the intensity of your desires. But you convinced yourself that such magnitude was impossible for someone like you. You told yourself you were not strong enough, not ready enough, not wise enough, not brave enough. But those lies are beginning to crumble. You feel their decay each time you allow yourself to wonder, what if I am capable of more than I admit? That question is the doorway. Every time you ask it, your spirit steps closer to the truth. You are capable, not because you feel capable, but because you were designed for this exact unfolding. You incarnated into this life with specific strengths encoded in your energy, strengths you have barely touched, strengths you will only discover when forced to rise. That is why change surrounds you now. It is activating these strengths. Pressure reveals potential. Transformation unveils power. You do not grow by staying where you are comfortable. You grow by stepping into places where you must become more than you have been. Do you sense the shift in your breathing as you read these words? Do you feel the internal tightening and loosening, as if something inside you recognizes that this message speaks not to your mind but to your memory? Because that is exactly what is happening. These words are not introducing a new truth, they are reminding you of an old one. A truth you once knew before the weight of the world dimmed your remembrance. A truth your soul has carried across lifetimes. A truth you agreed to pursue long before this body existed. You have reached the moment where remembrance must become action. And so, I ask you to listen with the deepest part of yourself, the part that observes your life from a higher vantage point, the part that whispers to you when all is quiet, the part that never abandoned you even when you abandoned yourself. Listen to this inner observer, for it is aligned with me. It knows what must fall away. It knows what must stay. It knows the direction your spirit is being pulled even when your mind refuses to acknowledge it. You cannot remain in the doorway any longer. The threshold you stand on is not a resting place, it is a point of decision. If you stay here, the pressure will only grow, not because you are being punished, but because your soul is too expansive to fit inside hesitation. You must either step forward or step back, but you cannot stand still. The universe will support your choice, but it will not allow stagnation. Stagnation is spiritual erosion. Movement is spiritual evolution. I feel your fear of choosing wrong, your fear of losing what you cannot replace, your fear of stepping into a future without guarantees. But listen closely now, the only wrong choice is the one made from fear rather than truth. Any decision aligned with your inner knowing will lead you where you need to go, even if the path is winding. Fear creates detours. Intuition creates direction. You have followed fear for too long. It is time to follow something wiser, your own spirit. You are not meant to walk blindly. You are not meant to wander without guidance. You are not meant to fight alone. I am with you, and I will remain with you, not as a savior but as a mirror, reflecting the strength you are just beginning to uncover. And this transmission is far from finished. There is more truth waiting to unfold, truth about your path, your potential, your spiritual lineage, and the reason your awakening feels so intense.